Hey everyone, welcome back to the OSINT report. It's been a little while since my last upload, about 2 weeks. I've said before, this is something that I do part time, mostly Sundays during football or late at night after long days working. But I didn't want to miss another week. The project here has been growing. I'm grateful for everybody who's been following along, and I definitely heard and took your feedback. I thought as a time savings using Notebook LM to generate the audio was not a bad idea. I'm not a professional editor, clearly. Um, but I will just start to kind of give audio myself. I thought it would be a little more polished and pro that way, but it's fine. This is just going to be one take. I have a couple of notes, but it's certainly not going to be polished. But in any case, I started the channel. I wanted to share some calm, detailed, open source intelligence, not hype, anything like that. Um, Verified analysis that connects some of the dots, just a passing interest. My name's James. I stay off the camera for now, but using my own voice moving forward. Um, like you're hearing from somebody who does genuinely enjoy understanding how global defense systems work, what they mean strategically. I have a PhD, I'm a writer and researcher. This is a side project, a little bit adjacent to that. So tonight, I just want to get back to taking a closer look at the class of submarine that we talked about last time. And if you haven't gone back, check out the channel. There's a video about the submarine, the Russian Kilo class in the Mediterranean that was limping home. That's the Kilo class, so-called black holes of the sea. Once they were the pride of the Russian diesel-electric fleet. They were known for stealth and simplicity. But after 2.5 years of war, cracks are showing, whether that's literal or figurative. The Kilo class submarines are suffering from mechanical failures, combat losses, and strategic limitations that expose far more than just technical wear and tear. I guess they reveal the limits of Russia's ability to project sustained maritime power in a contested area and in a data driven and drone dominated environment. So we'll start with what we know. In September of 2023, there was a precision strike on a shipyard in Sevastopol, and it severely damaged the Russian sub Rostov-na-Don, which is B-237, one of the more modern subs in the Black Sea Fleet. The attack was reportedly carried out with British-supplied Storm Shadow missiles, and at the time, satellite imagery showed the submarine engulfed in flames inside of the dry dock. So Russia initially claimed it would be repaired, but some independent analysis, including assessment from things that you can find online, Naval News did a good job of this, others as well, they indicated that the structural damage was catastrophic. It was a total loss. And that single strike exposed several weaknesses. First, it demonstrated pretty clearly that Crimea, which was long assumed to be a secure rear base, is now well within the reach of Western precision weapons. And second, it revealed that Russia's naval repair infrastructure is extremely vulnerable. You can't repair a submarine in a war zone under constant surveillance and the threat of strike. So fast forward, maybe a little more than a month ago now, another incident caught our attention. One of Russia's newer improved kilos, the Novorossiysk, which I know I'm butchering the pronunciation, was seen operating surfaced. It was an unusually long stretch while transiting through the Med. NATO surveillance tracked it for days. A lot of imagery came forward, and reports described it as limping home, possibly due to fuel system or electrical failure. Russia, of course, denied any malfunction, but the optics were pretty clear. Supposedly, it was a stealthy submarine, but it was exposed. It was being escorted, and it became a real time symbol of a diminished capacity and reliability. So these incidents taken together aren't isolated malfunctions, they're part of a larger pattern: mechanical strain, logistical isolation, and systematic fatigue within a fleet that was never designed for these sustained high tempo wartime operations under sanctions. So let's look for a second here at the technical side. The Kilo class is a diesel electric submarine, relatively quiet, relatively affordable, optimized for coastal defense. Its advantage lies in limited patrols close to friendly ports, not long term forward deployment. It's often called a hunter in shallow water, but that same design philosophy also limits its endurance. Kilos have to surface or snorkel regularly to recharge their batteries, and maintenance intervals are tight. Peacetime, Russia could rotate its submarines for overhaul through the Bosphorus in the shipyards in the Baltic or the northern fleets. But recent changes, especially in their alliance with Turkey, basically make sure that no new Russian warships or subs can pass between the Med and the Black Sea during wartime. That effectively traps the existing fleet where it is, so what's inside stays inside. And therefore, I guess when a kilo breaks down in the Black Sea, it's not just a repair job. This is a strategic problem. There's no way or no easy way to replace or rotate the asset. Sanctions have also compounded the issue. Many of the auxiliary systems aboard kilos, everything from electrical components to navigation systems, they rely on imported parts. With Western suppliers cut off or relatively cut off, and limited domestic capacity, the Russian Navy has had to rely on cannibalizing old systems or procuring lower quality replacements. So it's a patchwork. This is not a great maintenance approach, and it's starting to show. So add in here operational stress. The boats are running longer patrols. They're cycling crews faster. They're facing constant surveillance from US and NATO reconnaissance assets. So the maintenance interviews that should happen every few hundred operating hours are being delayed. For submarines, this is a dangerous equation. Diesel engines, pumps, seals, control valves, they all have finite fatigue and finite fatigue lives. So none of these care about what Russia's claims are. Like, this is the reality. The real game changer, though, hasn't been internal, it's external, and it's the rise of Ukrainian maritime drones. We were all kind of saying in the comments, I know I saw a lot of people like, oh, I hope that Ukraine is able to take a run at it. And maybe they were thinking about it, and who knows, maybe the diplomatic pressure was applied and that wasn't part of the equation. But we get it. In less than 2 years, uncrewed surface vessels have rewritten how navies in general think about littoral warfare. And here they've forced the Black Sea Fleet to withdraw major surface combatants from forward positions and keep them behind layered defenses. Satellite imagery and on-the-ground reporting suggests that Russia has begun expanding naval infrastructure further east, even exploring basing options in occupied Abkhazia, and this is to reduce exposure in Crimea. Submarines haven't escaped that pressure. Every transit in and out of port risks detection, risks potential for attack, surface drones, aerial reconnaissance, even satellite tracking mean that subs are no longer invisible once they're near the shoreline. And that kind of exposure limits patrol frequency, and it really does force Russia to prioritize hiding over fighting. So strategically, it means the Kilo fleet, which was once Russia's reliable, conventional deterrent in the Black Sea, now contributes less to actual combat operations. There have been fewer reported Caliber cruise missile launches from subs since, I think, at least the mid-2024, and that would suggest a reduced availability or a conscious decision to conserve materials and conserve assets. So either way, the impact is the same. Degraded strike capacity, that mirrors the broader decline in Russian naval intelligence and naval influence. So zooming out for a second here as we kind of wrap up, look at the global picture. Russia isn't the only nation that's learning these lessons. The Black Sea is becoming the testbed for how modern technology, drones, satellites, open source surveillance even, can neutralize these traditional advantages. Other nations, let's be clear, they're watching closely. China continues to invest in advanced diesel-electric subs, including their Yuan class, which incorporates AIP or air-independent propulsion. So that's the technology that a Kilo lacks. And these systems extend underwater endurance, and they do reduce vulnerability while snorkeling. Meanwhile, Iran has expanded cooperation with Moscow on both drone and sub technologies. And it's likely that they're seeking to incorporate Russian design experience into their own fleet, their midget subs that are currently operating in and around the Persian Gulf. Both countries are learning from Russia's failures. adapting their lessons, looking at redundancy, repair, sensor exposure, and those lessons will shape how regional and naval power evolves through the rest of the decade and beyond. So, in the end, the story of the Kilo class isn't just about broken engines, damaged hulls. It was interesting to look at the media that we looked at last week in the video, 2 weeks ago, and all the stuff that you can see online. It's more than that, though. It's a case study here and what happens when legacy platforms meet new threats. So the black holes that once hunted NATO sonar operators, they're now struggling to stay afloat in an age of open source intelligence, precision strike weapons, uncrewed vehicles, and relentless transparency. Reliability is more than mechanical performance, it's the ability, and this is what they don't have, to sustain credible operations under pressure. And right now, the evidence suggests that Russia's diesel electric, at least just the diesel electrics, that deterrent is losing the battle. So that's our briefing. Again, if you found this analysis useful, share it with somebody. If you're into defense, global security, these are things that I'm interested in. So I started this little corner of YouTube to report on this. So I'm James. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next one.